Most of us are so busy just living life, right? Day in, day out. But how many of us are actually designing it? I mean, really architecting it with a plan like you would a house? Well, today we're going to dive into a framework that's all about doing just that.
And boom, right away, we get this huge question. What if prosperity wasn't just about money? I mean, think about it. We're all kind of conditioned to chase that number in our bank account, aren't we? But this whole idea challenges us to zoom out and ask, what if real wealth is something bigger, something more balanced?
And this quote, wow, I think this hits home for a lot of people, doesn't it? That feeling of spending your whole life chasing money but still feeling stressed out, stuck, and totally unsure about what's next. It's like you're on a hamster wheel. And that, right there, that's the exact problem this framework is designed to tackle. Okay, so we're going to get to the solution, I promise. But first, let's just dig into this problem a little more. Why is it that just chasing the money so often leaves people feeling, well, empty? It really boils down to these three things, right? Stressed, that constant pressure about money. Stuck, like you might be making decent money, but you feel like you're not actually going anywhere meaningful. And uncertain, because when you don't have a real plan, the future just feels kind of scary. And that's a heavy emotional cost. It's something you won't find on any bank statement. All right, so if the old way of thinking is broken, then what's the fix? Let's get into the good stuff. Here's a new way to think about it, a framework for redefining what a prosperous life even means. And here it is, the core idea, a prosperity lifestyle. The key word here is system. This isn't just some feel-good philosophy. It's a practical system for building a life that actually works in every single area, not just your finances. Money's a part of it, for sure, but it's just one piece of a much, much bigger puzzle. So the whole thing is built on these four pillars. First up is wealth, but look how they define it. Clarity, discipline, abundance. It's not just about hoarding cash. Then you've got health, your energy, your vitality, your emotional well-being. Super important. Third is happiness, which they tie to your relationships and inner peace. And the fourth is spirituality, your purpose, your values, what you're all about. And the logic is simple, right? If any one of these pillars is shaky, the whole thing can come crashing down. I love this comparison because it makes it so clear. Look at the left side. That's the default for most people, right? Working hard, but with no real system. And what happens? Money ends up controlling your life. Now look at the right. This is the big shift. You have a system for your life, and money becomes a tool that supports that life. See the difference? You go from being reactive to being the architect. That's the game changer. Okay, this all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do it? Like on a Tuesday morning when you're rushing to get to work. Let's break down how this framework goes from being just an idea to your daily practice. So you might be wondering, is this for me? Well, it's designed for a whole bunch of different people. Young couples who are worried about the future, working pros who feel stuck even though they're making good money, families who are just sick of the stress. But you see the pattern, right? Everyone's looking for the same thing, to trade that confusion and stress for some real clarity and purpose. They want a signal in all the noise.
So what does this actually look like day to day? Well, it's all about concrete actions. Things like having a super disciplined morning routine, getting up at 5:15 a.m. to own your day before it owns you. It's about using guided frameworks to plan your finances and your life, so you're not just guessing. And a massive piece of this is accountability and mentoring. You're not just thrown in the deep end and expected to figure it out alone. It's very hands-on.
And it's not a free-for-all. There's a clear path here, a structured journey. You start as a starter, then you become an implementer, then a growth leader, and finally a legacy leader. So you're building on your progress step by step. It's a real roadmap for growth, not just a bunch of random tips. And this quote just nails it. This is not information overload. This is life design in action. The point isn't to drown you in more information. It's to get you to actually do something with it, to take these ideas and apply them right now, to see a real difference in your life. Every system like this has a story, an architect behind it. So let's talk about the founder for a minute, because his own life experience is basically the blueprint for this entire framework. And this really gets to the heart of it. This is not theory. This is lived wisdom. In other words, this didn't come from a textbook. It came from real life, from mistakes, from lessons learned the hard way. So the founder's name is Nitin Arcade. And yeah, he's got the credentials. He's a certified financial advisor, all of that. But what's really stressed is that his authority comes from his own story. He talks about how he went through the same stress and confusion, how he made some big money mistakes because he didn't have a plan.
That personal struggle is what pushed him to create this system, to be the guide for others that he wishes he'd had. Okay, so we've talked about the problem, the framework, the founder, but let's get to the bottom line. What's the payoff? What's the actual transformation that's supposed to happen when you start designing your life like this? And this right here really lays it all out. It's a before and after picture for your life. You go from that constant fear and uncertainty to having real financial clarity. You trade confusion and stress for purpose and direction. And that feeling of being isolated and in competition with everyone, that gets replaced with peace and confidence. It's a fundamental shift in how you experience your life.
And this isn't just abstract stuff. This is how it shows up in the real world. People are actually creating goal-based wealth plans. They're building those disciplined morning routines we talked about. And check this out. It's not just about you. It's about improving communication with your family about money, even healing relationships. So the real win isn't just a fatter bank account. It's becoming a better, more whole version of yourself. And I think this final quote just wraps it all up perfectly. Prosperity is not a destination, it's a lifestyle. The goal isn't to finally arrive at some place called prosperity. The whole point is that prosperity is how you live every single day. It's a constant process of designing, building, and growing. It never really stops. And there's one last, really critical piece to all of this. You don't have to do it by yourself. Remember that feeling of isolation we mentioned earlier? Well, this whole system is built around a community, an ecosystem. The idea is simple. Trying to make massive, lasting change all on your own is, well, it's almost impossible. Having that support system is key.
So let's just leave it with this question. After hearing all this, it really makes you think, doesn't it? If you were to stop just reacting to life and actually become the architect, what would your system look like? What would your 4 pillars be? That's a powerful question to chew on.